Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Friday, April 21st, 2023, and this is episode 729 of Living Free in Tennessee. And I hope the audio is good today. Anyway, today is a Homestead Happenings update show where we go through all of our usual segments just about what's going on the Holler Homestead and what we've done in the last week, what we've accomplished. And there's a lot of focus on getting ready for the LFTN 2023 Spring Workshop, which happens every year about this time. If you are on the live stream and want to get a question in, remember what you do is you put the first couple of words in all caps, and then I star them, and I'll handle those at the end of the show unless it fits with the narrative when I see it. Putting in all caps just helps these eyes notice that you are not talking to each other. You're talking to me, and that just helps me know what to do next with that. Before we jump into the main topic, though, today, I would like to start with highlighting our featured event, which I'm actually going to bring over onto my screen so I can see it. The featured event is a wild edible walk in Lenoir City, Tennessee, put on by Carrie Brown of Strong Roots Resources. It's Saturday, May 20th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. RSVP via email to strongrootsresources@gmail.com. I think it'll be really fun. He's actually doing one at the Spring Workshop too. So there's that. You can do it here. You can do it there. It's going to be a really cool event. He's great at just showing you what's growing that are wild edibles and herbal remedies. It's very educational every time I tag along, and I tag along when I can. Also wanted to thank today's sponsor, the Homestead Consultant. Ryan Steva at thehomesteadconsultant.com comes at homesteading from the perspective of let's connect people with how food is grown and make productive homes. And he thinks that this will help both increase a person's sustainability is the wrong word, guys. It'll increase a person's resilience, a family's resilience, and helps them have a healthier lifestyle. And when you first start getting into homesteading, it's a lot. So what Ryan does is he comes, helps you evaluate your goals, looks at your homestead, and creates a stepwise plan for you to implement one thing at a time. If you want to find out more and get a free consultation, go to thehomesteadconsultant.com, reach out to Ryan, and set up a 20-minute phone call. And he can help you assess what you're doing. Everybody I've talked to who's worked with him to get their homestead plan has had a great kickstart to where they're going. So thank you to thehomesteadconsultant.com for sponsoring the show. With that, we're just going to go straight into today's show topic, and that is the Homestead Happenings. We're going to talk about duck egg incubation. We're going to talk about, I'm doing an experiment with that. We're going to talk about the coming frosts this weekend, because of course we have a frost risk now that I have almost everything out. We're going to talk about how if Tactical is listening to this, if he could come into my office and open the stupid door, or if Mom can hear it, that would be great, because it turns out there was a cat in here that was hiding under the bed and I didn't know it. And he's about to become problematic on the live stream. Anyway, our first segment of today's show is Featured Forage, where we talk about what we're getting from the land around us. And the hairy vetch I talked about last week is blooming. And I'm getting those blooms for salads, which is great. We didn't pick any for yesterday's coleslaw that we had with dinner, but it tastes kind of like a pea shoot, and they are available all over the place once they start growing. So check those out. If you don't know what hairy vetch looks like, look it up online, and it's pretty easy to identify. Thank you for coming in. Either one of those cats can go out. That one in particular is problematic. Yeah, LT wanted to join the live stream today, guys. That's what happened. Anyway, the new mullein plants are up. The leaves are about, 4.5 inches long. So it's kind of cool to watch that popping up all over the holler. That means that the seed fairy activity that we did with them is great, because they put out these big spikes of seeds at the end of their life cycle, and then you can take the spike and it's like a wand and you're like, seeds all over the holler. And it's okay to do that here when those things are up and dry. Like, you don't have to put them in the fridge or anything. You just scatter them around and hope more come up. And there are a lot of seeds going up out there anyway. The dead nettle and chickweed are still around, but they're older than I want to eat them at. The chicks will eat them. And then the bee balm is popping up, and the lemon balm is already a lemon balm bush. So it's really kind of fun to see all of the things coming to life in the holler and start the wild forage time. I've been so focused on getting ready for the spring workshop that I have not been foraging as much as I usually am at this time of year. So I kind of feel like I missed out on some stuff, and I am looking forward to having that back in my life on April 31st, which is May 1st. April 31st does not exist. Good morning, Chuck Peoples. Next up, I want to talk to you about what's going on with the livestock at the Holler Homestead. And we have had some epic Muscovy battles. I got 3 females and 1 male Muscovy, and it turned out that we had a cross-dressing Muscovy who is really a boy. It's sometimes hard to tell when they're young. And so what has happened is one Muscovy is the dominant Drake, and the other one is not. And it has been Muscovy mating season. So they do, I mean, like, they were all hanging out together fine, but then spring came and more mating was happening. The one Muscovy was just off by himself looking grumpy. Well, he's been getting uppity lately. And so there have been some Muscovy offs in the yard, and they hiss at each other and they get all big. So I've been watching the epic battles. Nobody's really gotten hurt. And the dominant Muscovy is he's just big. He's dominant. It is what it is. So that's kind of interesting to watch as it happens. And they weren't doing that. And then the ladies set a clutch of eggs, and then they came back out from setting the clutch of eggs, and then the males started fighting over them. So that's just life on a homestead with poultry. If you have more than one male in your flock, unless your flock is so big that they can just divide it up. The rabbit procrastination has been causing problems because we have 4 cages and we need 5, and we have a dog crate that we're using as a cage, and the watering system that is on the 4 cages is pretty cool. It is an automated watering system-ish. It's a gravity fed thing where we have a big thing of water, and then it has a pipe that it goes through and like little nipples for the rabbits to drink from. And we have a litter of 7 rabbits that was living in the dog crate with their mom. It's 8 rabbits, and we were watering them manually, and they were going through water like nuts because it's been 80 degrees during the day here. So yesterday we took the white male and moved him into the cage where the babies were, and moved the babies into his cage so they'd have access to the automated waterer. And the reason we had to do this is I have the 2 babies that were born in December are ready for processing, and I have not processed them yet. And I call this rabbit procrastination. This is something that Nighthawk's very good at too, where we grow the meat rabbits, and then it's like, time to process the bunnies. Ooh, that's messy. I'll put it off. And the stupid thing is I literally just need to unalive them and put them in a bag in the freezer and then feed them to dogs, or cut them in half in bags in the freezer. So the problem is I'm not super stoked about unaliving a rabbit. I've never unalived a rabbit before. I've unalived other things, and I know I can do it. And somebody at Self-Reliance Festival, I'm not sure who, but I know Mama Sauce knows who, gave me 2 hopper poppers, which is a way to unalive a rabbit in a very quick way. And everybody I know who uses them swears by them. So all that's standing between me and this project is me. All I have to do is screw the stupid thing into a tree, put the rabbit in the popper hopper, dislocate its head from its spine, and it will be gone. And I'll probably do it before the workshop, but I've been putting it. It's like every day I look at them and I'm like, they're pretty cute and fluffy. And then I'm like, but we're raising rabbits for a reason. And every other unaliving of the rabbits that has happened has been done by the rednecks. And it's my job this time, I'm pretty sure. So we will see. See if I get past my hopper procrastination. Procrastination. It's like the mental stuff on the homestead sometimes. You're like, really? I know I can do this. I just don't want to go do it. And so I need to probably just get up in the morning once and just do the thing I don't want to do first. So I stop thinking about it and wasting time thinking about it because that's stupid. It's also time to start rotating goats on the property, get some of the underbrush under control with them. They are great weed eaters, and Tactical trained them on the electric wire last year. But in 5 days, 65 of my closest friends are coming here to camp and hang out. And Letty says, you can do it. Eat that frog. Exactly. It's time to eat that frog. Eat that frog is a way we say in the LFTM community. The thing I don't want to do that's like weighing heavily on me, like my taxes, is always about eating frogs. Sometimes you just got to eat the frog and get it done, right? So, yeah. Eat that frog. Eat it first, and then you don't have to think about it. You can have something yummy afterwards, like go plant plants in my garden. So it's time to rotate the goats, and the spring workshop's in 5 days. And I decided that I'm not even going to talk about rotating the goats with Tactical until after the spring workshop, because if we put the goats out with just some strands of electric wire to keep them under control, it'll be the time that they don't stay in the electric wire and they go onto somebody's car and like dance on it, and I don't want that. So they're going to stay in goat knocks until after the spring workshop, and then I think we need to talk about what their rotational system looks like. And also I should have more time to help with running wire and step-in posts and all that, which takes time, and it's way more fun to do with help than by yourself. Tactical usually does it by himself for the sheep, so that's just something that's on my mind. It's better for them, and it's better for my land if ruminants are rotating through here. The meat chickens are doing great. They definitely grow more slowly than the other variety. What I have are ginger roasters, and the variety I have raised before have been the Cornish cross or the jumbo. One time I did jumbo Cornish cross because that's all there was available, and those things are like insane. But they're doing great in their chicken tractor. It needs to move today. I've been moving a little bit by myself every day, but I think it needs a good solid move today. And it'll start wanting to move faster and faster as they get older and older. And what's happening right now is our weather is actually cooperating so that it's a good temperature for them. Like as they're feathering out, it's getting warmer and warmer, which means we don't necessarily need the brooding lamps. We've left them on so they can do what they need. We have 2 36-degree nights coming, and I'm just going to leave them out in the tractor on the 36-degree nights. I don't think we need to take them inside. They're 3 weeks old now, so that's halfway to the 6 weeks of totally feathered out. And I think at this point, if they are not able to make it through a night with heat lamps, then I've been doing something wrong. So they're a 12-week growth cycle. 30-day review says I thought that they were supposed to grow faster. These are intentionally growing smaller. I'm hoping that will make an even better chicken flavor in the chicken meat, because I like the chicken flavor of chicken meat when I eat chicken, although I don't like chicken as much as I used to. And they are not as disgusting as the meat birds as far as excrement factor at a young age. And what happens with the meat birds, like the Cornish cross, is they lose all the feathers on their chest because they're just like sliding on their chest all the time. So I just feel so far I'm liking this breed better, and I feel more humane about letting them be living the chickenness of a chicken, or whatever that Joel Salatin likes to say, embracing the chickenness of a chicken. And they do waste feed, and I talked about this last week. Like they want to scratch in the feed, so they get up in there and they scratch, and then there's feed all over the ground. So Ryan Steva texted me and said, if you hang their feeder up so their necks can barely get up over it, that will reduce the amount of feed that's wasted. We haven't done that yet. And I was like, oh, I know just the feeder I need. And I texted that back to him. And of course, text message, it sounded like I said, I know which feeder I need. Like, I know what I'm about, son. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. You don't hear tone of voice in words on text messages on my phone. And it was really just like, oh, cool. You just reminded me. about that, which I used to do years ago when I had to with other breeds of chickens when I was doing egg layers, because egg layers do the same thing with the feed. That's why I have the round hanging feed things, because they can't really get up in there yet, but they'll eat over the edge, and then they don't make as big of a mess. You waste less food, you spend less money making the chickens, and that's, a good thing. They also eat the grass, and I made feta cheese for the spring workshop, and I ended up with 1.5 gallons of whey, actually 2 gallons of whey probably. And I didn't save it to make ricotta cheese, because there's a lot to do, and that just, like, I'm going to get a tiny handful of ricotta out of that if I do that. So I just started giving them 1/2 gallon of whey every day up there, and they eat the crap out of that. The first day I put it out, one of them got into the little bowl and stood in the middle of it and just drank the whey, and then he became the one who did that every time I put the whey in. I also didn't use all my milk last week, and it hadn't gone bad yet. So I took, that quart of milk I hadn't drunk, and we fed that to them yesterday too. So they've been getting a lot of supplemental stuff. If I am on it today, today or tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow. Let's just be realistic about my schedule today. I'm driving for 6 hours right after this. So I will be removing the dead nettle chickweed from the hillside garden, as well as any grasses that look like they're coming up, and transplanting some Swiss chard and some dill and some other stuff into there. And as a result of that, I will have a big pile of dead nettle that I can give the little chicks in their tractor, and they will love it. They will love it. So that's the update from the meat birds. And I feel bad because I see Steve Eversole on here, and I haven't even shown Steve and Tracy how we do meat birds and their holler neighbors. So in theory, they're supposed to be helping us with this project. But what he's been doing is building Holler Roost, which we'll talk about in the infrastructure section of today's show. The sheep started escaping the fence 2 days ago, and it has led to the following scenario in the holler twice. On the Zello app we use, the APB goes out. I need help getting the sheep because they got out and they're running towards the marina, is what Tactical said the first time. But the second time he said towards the barn. I think both times they were running towards the barn. It usually involves an F-bomb or two when this happens, because he becomes frustrated with the situation and he queues up to whoever he talked to last. So then that person has to get the message out to the rest of the holler neighbors. And the first time it happened, Steve went over, Tracy and I went over, and Nighthawk went over, and there were 2 4-wheelers and 2 people on the ground herding the sheep back into the paddock they were supposed to be in. And it was kind of funny to watch sheep being herded by 4-wheelers, but it's possible. And the second time was the very next day. Well, the funny part was I went to leave, and Mom's like, let me get my pants back on, because she'd just taken a shower and put her PJs on when they got out. And I was like, Mom, don't. I was like, never mind. Because if, like, all of us can't get them herded back without Mama Sauce, like, then there's a bigger problem. The second time, Mama Sauce had her pants on. So, and Steve and Tracy were here working on Holler Roost, and I got the APB, and Nighthawk headed over. Mom jumped in the car with me, and I headed over. And I told Tracy, like, if I need you, I'll call you. But I think we got it with just us, and we herded him back in with 1 4-wheeler and me yelling, yeah, because sheep, when you do this, yeah, they become startled and want to not be near you, and they run away from you. So Mama Sauce was circling around the top, so we got it in, and that was pretty cool. So what was not cool is that they were getting out. And so then what ensued was that Tactical was testing the fence, and instead of 12 joules, it was dropping to 9 joules. And apparently that wasn't enough of a negative repercussion for sheep to not just bust through the fence and go wherever they wanted to go. And he could not track down why it's happening. And I don't know that he ever did. Like, at first we thought it was because the ground's pretty dry. It hasn't rained in a while. And the grounding rod was just not delivering the pop. But, like, literally the grounding rod is right there by the paddock they're in. It's not like the grounding rod's on the other side of the property or something. So I think it might be the chargers being a little persnickety or something like that, or maybe some of the wires on the fence are getting older. Don't know, but we use the braided wire and we reel it in, and it's over time, if it gets jostled around, eventually that stuff does get um it gets taxed basically. So, and eventually you have to replace it. It seems awful soon for that to happen. We've had it for less than a year and it has not been abused. So, we'll see. They stopped happening. Sheep did not get out last night, but if next time they get out, it will probably, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen during the spring workshop because Murphy does that to me. Stuff like that. The LGDs really need to go to the vet, and I need to figure out how to get them into the car to the vet. And the problem is that I don't have Bravecto for them, and we have ticks. So I'm going to have to call the vet and beg for Bravecto, even though he's never met these dogs, and they really need their rabies shot too. I could do the rabies shot, I believe myself. Yeah, Don says we might need to water the ground. He watered the ground. That was the first solution, and it was just like that was not the issue. But I need them on Bravecto because I need them not to get tick-borne illnesses or heartworms, because that would suck after investing this much in those dogs. And I want to get them on the heartworm shots. And the biggest issue is that Max does not like to go inside at all. I've actually never tried to get either of them inside, but at least Miles will go on a leash. But I talked to the vet, and he said he was willing to come out to my car to deal with the situation. So we will see how that works. I also don't know how they're going to do with being stuck and stuff. So, and they're big. It's going to be a big old thing. And I probably should have done more training with them than I have. So that's my bad. The next segment is grow. This is where we talk about what we're growing on the homestead. This just comes in when we're doing Hello Tennessee Permaculture, Mike. This is where we just talk about what we're growing. The tomatoes. Remember how I've been putting off growing my tomato seedlings? Yes, I have. I finally started them. I sourced a few extra plants from other people, and I made sure I got 2 to 3 of the varieties I usually grow into seedling germination areas, and threw it like last weekend into my seedling area, and they germinated within 3 days, and all of them have germinated, so that's good. They're about an inch tall. I'm not going to be transplanting those till mid-May probably, and that's fine, because it's been like, if I had tomatoes out right now, which sometimes I do in my hydroponics system, I'd be bringing them back inside anyway this weekend because it's just too cold for tomatoes. So I wasn't planning to put any tomatoes out till after May 1st anyway. And then once they get out there, they actually catch up pretty fast, because what I have found with putting my tomatoes out earlier is I get an extra week out of it or so the way I do it. And really, when it gets to be ideal tomato growing weather, it just is, and they do the tomato things that they do. I've been hardening off seeds all week, so I took my trays. I have 2 trays of seedlings, some of which are peppers, some of which are herbs and all sorts of different things, and lettuces. And I wanted to transplant them a week sooner than I have, but I hadn't hardened them off. And so starting a week ago, I put them out for 2 hours, and then 3 hours, and then half a day. And now they've just been outside the whole time. And I was going to transplant them this weekend. And now we're getting down to 36 degrees at night this weekend. So it's very likely that Monday is the day that I transplant all of those. The reason it's important to harden off your plants before you put them out is that you end up with sunburnt plants here if you don't do that. And that means that your leaves get kind of hazed by the sun, and it slows down the progress of the plant. So I'm bringing this up because I saw somebody post online on the Noster groups why do my plants look like this? I just put them out and like the leaves looked sunburnt to me. And I looked at them, I was like, those leaves look sunburned. And I said, did you harden them off? And somebody else asked the same question. He was like, oh no, I didn't do that. That's what happens if you don't harden your plants off. Sometimes plants die, but usually they just get sunburnt and they look sad for a week or two, and then they figure it out and they're fine. So if you harden your plants off, you're just giving it a leg up. And I'm bringing this up now because a lot of you are putting seedlings out. If you have already put your seedlings out and you didn't harden them off, something you can do is put shade cloth or fabric or paper or something over them to protect them from the sun and expose it a little so you can harden them off that way. That won't harden them off to the temperature fluctuations that are different outside versus inside, but it's better than nothing. And if they're already in the ground, they're in the ground. As far as what we're getting from the garden right now, we're getting basically spring green salads, or I could be doing sautés in theory. I don't have enough Swiss chard to do sautés with, or kale. I didn't grow kale this year. So I have, we're having lettuces. We have watercress that's doing really well in the aquaponics system. So I don't even have to go to the creek to get it. But I like, sometimes if I want a lot of watercress, I have to go to the creek. We've got Swiss chard, and we're just mixing all those things together. And then I go out and I'll grab some hairy vetch blossoms or pea shoots from the garden. The radishes should actually be ready this week, so I'll go check that out tomorrow when I get to have time at my house again. And all of that makes a great spring salad with a homemade salad dressing. A lot of what I've been doing dressing wise is taking a raspberry vinaigrette with garlic and salt and pepper and adding to it a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil and then mayonnaise, and shaking that up and just tasting it to make sure there's enough salt, like, putting your pinky in and tasting it. And it's been a really delicious salad dressing. Like, the mayonnaise adds a little creaminess to it without adding dairy to it, which means if Nighthawk comes to dinner, he can still have the salad, and it's not like a Nighthawk unsafe salad, right? So that's what we've been eating here. Nothing else is really coming on yet besides sort of, the greeny things. My brassicas are not ready to harvest yet, but I can harvest some of the outer leaves for that. They really need to be mulched in too, because I think it's probably too dry up there for them, and they probably need water. I say probably because the garden space, the kitchen garden where I'm supposed to go every day, has not seen my face in 3 or 4 days. That's the reality of a homestead. Sometimes you're getting ready for an event, you don't look at your garden. It'll be surprising. Oh yeah, the asparagus is coming on, but I didn't weed the asparagus patch before it started coming on, so it's really hard to see them. And I was planning to move them this winter and then never moved them. Next segment is Holler Neighbors / community. This is where we talk about what's going on in the community. Steve I think he's finished Holler Roost, but if not, he's just poking at some things on it. He's built the roost inside. He's put the trim on the outside. It looks fantastic. I put a picture of it up the other day with Mom sitting in front of it wearing this t-shirt, which is pretty cool. It says, "I spent the night in Holler Roost." It has the Holler Roost logo. And all I got was this crummy t-shirt. We should have said crappy because, the double meaning with chickens and poop. But we said crummy. Anyway, this is a t-shirt that will be for sale at the Living Free in Tennessee Spring Workshop, which starts next week. It'll be exclusively for sale there through the workshop. And then we'll see what the inventory is that's left. And we will put them up on the website for sale for anybody who wants them. They're $20 for everything up to large size, and then XL and triple X, double XL and triple XL. Sorry, XL is still $20 or $3 more because the shirts cost us $3 more for the bigger sizes. Anyway, he got that done, and then he's like, well, while I'm at it, because they painted the outhouse too, one of the outhouses for the spring workshop, we should put trim on the outhouse too. Do you want to do that? And I was like, yes, I do. So he's been putting trim on that too. So I really appreciate all the help from that, and from Tracy, who has been over here helping us clean up and organize and get ready for the spring workshop. There was a lot of post-construction blah to deal with. Yesterday, we finally were able to use my kitchen again. It's been out of commission for 3 days while I painted the floor gray so that it is not white, because white primered floor shows a lot of dirt. A lot of dirt. Share what you are. My note item says share what you are accomplishing on Telegram, and I needed to not just read that to you in actual words that were written on the page. That was just supposed to be a reminder to me to talk to you about Telegram and MeWe. We have Living Free in Tennessee networks on Telegram and MeWe, which is part of how I see what's going on in the community. And this week, I was feeling a little punky on Monday. I posted a picture of something we had accomplished here. I just felt like we weren't making progress here, even though we were all working really hard. And I put a picture up of, I don't even know what. And I was like, this is what I've accomplished. What are you accomplishing? And people started putting pictures up of like coops and gardens and construction projects and side hustles and dinners they were cooking. And I thought that was really cool. And I wanted to mention it here because I think we should do more of that. This is what we're actually getting done. Pictures of stuff you're getting done, even if it's not all the way done. Because sometimes it's so easy to not see the incremental change and we don't realize that how much progress we're making. But we can go back and look at these pictures and see. And also, if you're having a day where it's hard to motivate, seeing a bunch of other people get their work done really helps me want to get my work done. So, I don't know. The Telegram group is t.me/LFTN group, I believe is what that one is. And then on MeWe, it's Living Free in Tennessee on MeWe. And if I got that link wrong, somebody just correct me in the comments and I will totally fix it in words. I've also been playing around on Noster, and we've talked about this a little bit. I am doing an experiment with incubating duck eggs. And I just put them in the incubator on Wednesday after collecting the eggs and getting the incubator all set up. And the experiment is this. I have khaki Campbells and Muscovies, and I have eggs from them, and I can't really tell the difference between the eggs. Now, other smarter people might be able to tell the difference between the eggs. I can't. The incubation period for Muscovies is 35 days. The incubation period for khaki Campbells is 28, 29 days. You see the problem, right? You need to move the eggs while they're incubating. The last 3 days, you need to stop moving the eggs so that the chick can get in position and bust out. And yes, I can. And the Muscovies will be nowhere near done by the time the khaki Campbells are ready to hatch. I have one incubator. So what I'm going to do this time is just let it go through its 29-day cycle. 3 days before 29 days happen, it's going to stop moving. They'll get in position. They will either hatch or not hatch. And then anybody who's left, I'll restart. And I am documenting this on video. So I've already talked about how you collect eggs, how you keep eggs ready to be viable in the incubator by moving them every day. And then I've also shown how to put them in the incubator. And I'm doing this exclusively on the Noster system. So some of you are like, what's this Noster thing? Is it another dang social network that I need to go to? Because you already made me go from Facebook to MeWe and MeWe to Telegram. And I'm tired of moving networks. Here's the thing. Yes. Oh, yeah. You guys came to Float with me too, I think, at one point. Float died. Noster is a lot of what Float was trying to be, and then Float didn't quite get done. But the cool thing about it is rather than being an app you put on your phone, it's a protocol. So if you think about email is a protocol. It's a way of us communicating where we send messages to each other, and I can access it through whatever app I want, whether it's a Gmail app or a Yahoo app, or I can have a program installed on my computer like Outlook, or Eudora is a really old one. And I can look at my email And I can use those things on my computer to look at my Gmail rather than the web interface for Gmail. I can use the Gmail web interface to import my Yahoo email. And that's because sometime a long time ago, everybody agreed this is how email works. This is the protocol we use, so that this is the subject and this is how we get it to somebody with an email address and blah, 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 right? And there's more to it than that, but just think of it that way. Nostr wants to be that for social networks, and it's decentralized. So these are things I want to support. And I have jumped over there. It's actually meshed social networking with value for value exchange. So there's some payment built into it that's based on a cryptocurrency called Bitcoin, but it's really the Lightning Network over the top of it, right? Again, it's two protocols now overlapping. And I was really hesitant to go over there. And then I was like, you know what? Yes, I'm going to play with this and just see. And then a month or two from now, if I like it, I'll share it with the group. Well, then Jack Spirko decided to start the Grow Nostr initiative, where you're using hashtags as ways of setting up searching, just like you would on Twitter. And we're posting things about life that are different than about Bitcoin, because everybody was just talking about Bitcoin over there. And I thought, last time this happened, I watched Toolman Tim go from a decent audience to a really big audience because people were so excited about this new thing that they all networked. And that audience follows him everywhere now. And I didn't take good advantage of it. And that was on Float. I was sort of on Float, but I wasn't really on Float. So this time I'm all in. And I went all in. And it's been really interesting watching it grow. The thing is, it's a whole new thing that some of you may not have time in your lives to play with. But if you do, and if you are a content creator, and if you want to start developing real relationships with people on social networks, it takes 25 seconds to do the protocol, the Grow Nostr protocol, which is 2 posts about something that has nothing to do with Bitcoin that includes your hashtag Grow Nostr. Look at the Grow Nostr feed, follow 2 people who are writing something interesting, send them a message saying you followed them with the Grow Nostr thing, zap 2 people, which means send them a little bit of lightning, and then add a couple of comments. So 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, done. Takes about half a minute once you get good at it. The barrier to entry is that I'm using the word Nostr. So go to snort.social and create your account if you're doing it on a web browser. Download Amethyst and create your account if you're doing it on an Android. And I can't remember if it's Iris or something on iPhone. I don't have an iPhone. The cool thing about it is those are 3 different things, like, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram that I just mentioned to you. But it's all the same information. Our friend, the Renegade Butcher, and the Lots Project, those guys have done a pretty cool video on how to get started. I will publish that out later for those of you who are feeling like, I don't know how to do it. But people in our network are there and they'll help you too. Like Letty's on it already. So I am posting links to the story of the duckling experiment only on Nostr. So if you want to see those videos, you got to go on Nostr to find those links. If you figure out how to use snort.social, you don't even have to have an account to see it on snort.social, but by that point, you might as well just have an account, right? Anyway, next segment is infrastructure. This is where we talk about what we're building on the homestead. The Holler Roost is done. Letty says, if I can figure out Nostr, so can you. I think we need to stop calling it Nostr, but whatever. Holler Roost is up. It's finished. It's ready for chicks. The chicks are not here because I asked the guy not to mail me my chicks this week right before the spring workshop, because we might actually lose our minds if we have to brood chicks, take care of other meat chicks, and 65 people on my property. So hopefully they'll arrive sometime in May. We'll see. If not, I might just be like, hey, I'm driving through Mississippi. Can I pick up my chicks? But it is totally finished. And it looks great. And we have stored things related to chickens in there for now, like the brooder. We're going to brood the new chicks in the brooder in there. And then they'll go from like the brooder to the lamps. And then they'll go from the lamps to nothing to the outdoors. and it's pretty cool. If you're coming to the spring workshop, I'm sure Steve will be totally happy to give you a tour. In fact, without asking him, I put him on the agenda to do that. So, Steve, you're on Saturday evening. But actually, he can show it to you anytime. I just wanted to make sure that was on the list of things we do while people are here, else I'm going to forget to do it. We are focusing on food forest maintenance now, so I've been kind of poking at pulling some weeds. I've got some ground cover started over by the outhouse A, basically, and I don't like it. It's one I don't like. It's one that ends up being really tall and problematic, and it chokes other stuff out. So right now, my solution for that is chop and drop. It may be aggressive enough that I do some deeper prying into it. And here's what happened. I used leaf mulch on the food forest, which worked great all winter, but it's blown away. And I need wood chips in the areas where I don't want those kinds of plants going, so that the other ground cover I have on there can take over. Like, I want some strawberries out there. I've got oregano and thyme and other herbs that I like. I've got flower bulbs. So that's all just like, it's the battle of the pioneering plants right now in some of the areas where we disturb the earth. And I was ready for this, but I haven't been out there as much as I should be maintaining it, which is the story of my homestead. I haven't been out there as much as I should because I get tired, basically, and I need to sleep at night. And we'll see how that goes. It's also garden planting time. Like, this week that is the spring workshop would be the week that I really need to go all in on the garden. And I haven't. And that just means I may be planting a week late. Planting your garden a week late is not the end of the world. I've planted it a month late and been just fine. So I will do some garden planting this week, I'm sure, because as far as spring workshop preparation goes, we're way further ahead than we usually are right now. And I have to make sure that doesn't let me get lazy. I'm just going with the flow of, okay, more things done in advance. And that just makes my life easier on Wednesday next week when people start arriving. So it's actually kind of nice to be here this time. And it's what I always knew could happen as we developed infrastructure. What I didn't have was any critical infrastructure that needed to be built in advance of this workshop to accommodate the event. Now, there are things we've had to do to get ready for the solar build so that the solar build goes faster during the actual solar workshop part of the workshop, because some of the stuff is like frame the wall. You're not here to learn to frame a wall. You're here to learn how we hang the inverter on the framed wall and why we framed it that way, sort of thing. So, and like, my goal with the solar build is not how can I get people to pay me to build the solar. It's let's show people how you do a solar install, and we'll talk about why we made the decisions we made, so that if you're doing solar, you can do that. What's really cool about the spring workshop is I have that, and then I have Hog-Eye Harry doing a small scale solar demonstration about how you can put together a small scale solar system to provide yourself power anywhere on your property for a small project. So, there's the one that, all in, I'll be like $5,000-ish, I think, $5,000 into the supplies for my solar for the cabin. And Hog-Eye's solution is much less expensive. It has a very targeted need, and it's a different budget area, and it has different goals. So I think it's really fun to talk about the different ways we can go off grid. Of course, we'll be showing the solar water heater and all that too. Hey, we need to turn that on. Let's wait till after the weekend. It's going to be 36 degrees, and sometimes that means 31 degrees, and then that's frost, and the ice and solar water heaters do not play well together. So that's everything today. I have no update for the finances. I am looking forward to the spring workshop and just seeing everybody singing some karaoke, doing the barter blanket, learning all of these sessions. I have Toolman Tim being MC for us this time, so that I have more time to spend with the participants at the spring workshop, so I'm not always on the stage. And looking forward to that too, because I've always felt like I don't quite get enough time with people, and people come here to see me. So I should totally do that. Anyway, if you like the show and want to support the work I'm doing here, you can do it in 2 ways. One, get your coffee at hollerroast.com. To consider becoming a member, just head on over to livingfreeintennessee.com to find out more. With that, guys, go out, make it a great week. It's always interesting to see who signs off during that 5-second pause that I do every week. Nobody did this time, which means you've all been on my live stream before, and you know that what happens right after the live stream, got Holler neighbors in. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
It's great. How are you?
Can I hear you? Oh, no, I can't. I have to turn my sound on. Now can I hear you?
Oh,
Now I can hear you.
I hope so.
Turns out, if your speakers are off, no volume comes out.
Right. Weird.
Yeah.
Trace is actually on a call, so I have to keep my volume down a little bit. So
you have to be quiet. Yeah, I can hear. I can kind of hear her in the background being really quiet.
Yeah.
So, you said you have pictures of Holler Roost to show us. Do you want to share? Can you share screen from there?
Yes.
Cool.
What else?
Let's get that done.
All right.
So this is just like you've seen it, from different times. So
yeah.
Let's see what you got. It's going to take them a minute, apparently.
It
while you're doing that, I will answer a question, and I'm going to mute you while you do it because I'm getting Tracy in the background. Anyway, Letty wants to know, will that shirt be available for purchase? I think I answered that in the live stream. So the answer is yes, it will go up on livingfreeintennessee.com, our merch store. And when that happens, we'll have them. I'll have like the inventory of how many are in which size, and then we'll just do that. Shipping outside the US, I'll probably have to work on. And we're going to add Tactical to the live stream too. Tactical, say hello. Hello. You have to unmute yourself first, though. And I'm just, Steve, whenever I see you share your screen, we'll get that done.
Every day, and I kind of spread them out so I can.
Tactical. So what are you up to?
I was just running the pole saw.
Okay. So Tactical's looking a little rough because why are you running the pole saw today?
This is the first time I've gotten around to it.
How come you're not running it next week?
I need a spot to be able to lift solar panels onto the roof. And cedar limbs that are the size of a softball are kind of in the way.
Okay. So he's drinking water. I'm going to mute you and let Steve do the tour of the Holler Roost. Steve, you are on.
All right. So yeah, here's the beautiful coop.
It's beautiful.
So, yes.
Isn't that color nice?
Yeah. Yeah, I really like it. I wasn't too sure for the stained trim, but it turned it's beautiful. Looks really good. So here we have window on the front, and we also have a window on the back that you just have a little which I actually have to fix it because I'm gonna put the little eye hook in the middle because you can see the window kind of leans to the side. I don't like that. So, but it's just
I knew that was gonna happen when I saw that. I was like, he's not gonna like that. He's gonna have to move the eye hook.
So I'm gonna do that today, but yeah, you just pulley and just tie the rope off on the this other eye hook here, and hold it open, and you can close it if you need to for the winter. So nested box here. This door will drop down, and here's the clean out door, and I got pictures of those. So yeah, here's a side view with the beautiful custom-made sign.
The custom-made sign we turned into a t-shirt because we loved it so much.
Yeah. And so here's with the nesting box open to make it really easy to access the eggs from the outside. And here's with the door on the bottom. I have eye hook where you can attach it to the bottom side of the nesting box, so that way you can, from the inside, you can use a push broom to clean it out, clean all the mulch out to a waiting cart. And here we have the ramp made with sticks, branches from trees here at base camp. And window open, close, window open, and that is a automatic door that will open like 20 minutes after sunrise, close 20 minutes after sunset. That's the one I run here at base camp. I love it. Here's the inside, and yeah, that's before I cleaned up all my mess. But the nesting boxes, we should get the AstroTurf to put inside there. And yeah, this is also before I put the roosting bar on the bottom. Actually, no, I forgot. I have not done the roosting bar down there. I still need to do that. I'll do that tonight.
Yikes! It's okay. They're not ready for the roosting bar yet. You got time.
Right. But yeah, so here's the automatic feeder here, and here's a view from the inside. There's like basically a ramp, so it'll hold like 2 bags of feed. But the ramp will just keep the feed pushed towards the front so that they can access it from below. And I made it kind of adjustable, where as they get bigger, you could take out these 2 2x4s and raise it up to 3 more inches if it's too low.
Cool.
And here's the whole roosting bar rack with trees from base camp, and I have it's hinged on the back. I also have around all 4 sides. I have these roosting bars along the top, and on the roosting ladder, here it is raised up with the legs adjusted out of the way so you can get underneath it and do maintenance and do whatever. And there's the brooder and the pine shavings. But yeah, that's the hollow roost.
That is the hollow roost. We have a couple questions, so let me see. Adam A. Rapier asked, "What automatic door is that?" And I put the link in the show notes or in the
Cool.
live stream because that's the exact one I got. K-Bonk wants to know, what's the flock size for that unit? How many maximum birds would you think you'd put in there? I know how many I'm putting in, but
I think 30 would be easy. I mean, I think 30 will be fine. I mean, I only have 21 in there now. Especially with the addition of all the other roosting bars, going around the perimeter. I think 30 would be just fine for that.
Yep. So I'm ordering 25 breast chickens straight run, which means a third of them will be female. And I'm processing males. I might be reselling some male-female pairs to other people. And I'm looking for people who raise breast chickens who are not the ones not in the same breeding line as the ones I have necessarily, so that we can trade roosters, because I want them to self-propagate. And so my number is 25, and I'm going to try to keep it under 25 for this coop, just so that we have a good balance there. Okay, so this one comes from K-Bonk again. What's the flooring?
Cheap linoleum sheet from Lowe's. It was I think 64 cents a foot or something like that. And I had bought a 8x12 roll. I think it was like $60, I believe. And this is an 8x8 floor, so it was just enough, to cover it. But yeah, it makes cleanup really easy.
Yeah, I watched you install that before you put the walls up. And so it was just one big square that you didn't have to cut around things. I was like, that's brilliant, because I would have totally done it the other way. I would have been like, walls, and then I have to roll this awkward thing in there. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's way easier. Right. And Justin, it's breast, BRESSE. It's a breed of chicken, and they grow great legs. That's what they're good at. If you grain finish the breast chicken, they give you marbling in the meat, which I probably my goal is not to grain finish those, but that is what it is. Does the roost lay flat to the wall for cleaning? Talk about cleaning the roosting. Like cleaning out the inside and what the roost bar does.
Well, the roof, it raises straight up. So there's a little rope suspended from the ceiling here with a hook, and there's a D-ring on the roosting bar, on the bottom of the roosting bar itself. So you just lift it up, and it's kind of heavy. It probably weighs, 35, 40 pounds or so. Lift it up, and you just hook it on that hook, and it just sits there. So that you can get underneath and do whatever you need, and then just unhook it and set it on down. And these legs, I did fold, the legs, there's just one screw, so it's folded up so you won't bump your head on it. But yeah, it works great.
Yes, Pack Rat, you get the pun award of the show so far. So you can be a breast man and a drumstick man at the same time. Yeah, so Steve's all about us not bumping our heads as a general rule.
Yeah, because I do it a lot because I
because
have a
it
big
hurts.
head.
He's taller than I am, so he does it a lot. I don't have the towering person problem of banging my head on stuff like other people in the holler. And I say people because there's more than one who has
Oh.
the head is too high up issue.
Oh, and another thing I wanted to add about this coop, though, it is 8x8, and it's about the walls are about 7.5 feet on the inside, and there's hardware cloth here on the roof, so it has very good ventilation and it's protection. But there's hardware cloth, half-inch hardware cloth covering both windows and up around the perimeter of the roof as well.
Well, our dogs were out patrolling last night killing varmints, right?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so last night it's 9 o'clock. I'm getting ready to go to bed. Tactical heads out of my house. He's like, "Hey, I'll see you tomorrow." And so I'm like, I'm gonna turn off the lights out under Taj Mahal, right? And so I did, and then I realized one of my dogs was not in my house. So I called the dog, and I just called her, and all of a sudden I hear is murder, kill, and I see a flashlight on the road, and it was Tactical's voice. So I just shut up because I was like, I don't know what he means, but all I heard was kill. So I think I better be quiet. And then he's like, okay, go ahead and call her. And I called her, and she came up the hill. And apparently what had happened was that Sonny and Chestnut had found a armadillo.
Wow.
And they decided the armadillo should not be part of the Holler network of animals. So this led to a rather long dive into leprosy and how leprosy is spread, and can you get it from an armadillo, and how common is that, and can dogs get leprosy? So we went through the whole thing last night.
Wow.
And then Tactical for a second time said, okay, now I'm really leaving. So Tactical, is that about an accurate depiction of what happened there?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew that both dogs were out last night, and Sunny started losing her mind, and it was very obvious. That's not like there's something up there and I should bark at it and tell it to go. No, there's something right there that needs to die, was her body language. And so I grabbed a long gun just in case. You never know what that's, a rat or a coyote. So I grab a long gun and I walk down there, and the most epic fight ensued. Apparently this thing had gotten up under a rock, and so by the time I get down there, both dogs are frantically digging to get a hole big enough under this rock to be able to get in there. Got a hold of it, and then all I heard, I couldn't see anything. I could barely see the dogs through all the brush, but all I heard was just crunch, 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 and I was like, that's an armadillo. That's not a possum.
It's got armor on it. Well, that sort of flows into this question. Would putting a floodlight under the chicken coop help keep predators away? I don't know, because I have a perimeter fence around the whole thing to help keep predators away and dogs. And so I will say that I should do an episode on what we've done to keep predators out of our chickens over the years. When I first started raising chickens, I had a huge predator problem. And the best thing I did for getting rid of predators was teach dogs that varmints die and letting dogs chase predators off. So we just haven't had the predator pressure we used to have here. It took a few years for that to be taken care of. So I don't know if a light will really scare something that really wants tasty chicken. I know some people play radios in their coops too, because it's voices, and theoretically coyotes don't want to walk up to a radio. Steve, will digital plans be made for purchase for this coop?
I do not have the skills to draw up plans, although I could probably figure it out. But I think it would take me a tremendous amount of time, so probably not. Not by me, anyways.
It's called outsourcing.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually probably do know the person with those skills. Okay.
And they happen to be here right now.
Who?
I know at least one person on the holler right now that could probably manage to pull that off.
Oh, I don't. So, I don't know who he's. Mama Sauce?
I'm sure she could do it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Huh.
Maybe. I know an architect, but I don't know if he's up for it. What use does this coop serve if you tractor the chickens? This is an excellent question, and it has to go with why are we even adding a chicken coop in the holler if I prefer duck eggs and I don't like the destruction that chickens make on my property and blah, 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 blah. This is my new composting system. Now, it might seem like overkill for a composting system, but hear me out. I started thinking I need a new way to deal with my compost because the pigs are gone. And I was composting and making meat out of it and clearing land. And I decided the way that pigs clear land here is a little too aggressive for this size property. So we got rid of the pigs. They moved in with the Tennessee permaculture guy that you see in the live stream here. And hopefully they'll make new piggies. And then I realized I'm going to have all these kitchen scraps and I can just like compost them and use the compost for gardening. And that's a perfectly viable system. But I was like, what else can I do to get a benefit from kitchen scraps? And I thought, well, we could do the Victory Garden style chicken coop where you have them have access to one side 1 year and another side the other year. And they work up that ground and then you can plant things in that ground. So in this way, I can throw my compost down there. The chickens work it in and eat it and compost it for me. And the compost is put where I want the compost to be for growing things. So then I thought, well, I already have a garden that I've been working on for many years. Do I really want another garden? Like, that's a lot of work. And then I realized what I could grow down there are things that the animals eat.
Lori, Carol,
like squashes, things that don't take a lot of me like hand working it. And I thought, well, that's a pretty cool idea. So then we have the chickens providing compost, doing the work of the garden, growing the vegetables. And then the fourth thing is that we get a byproduct. Chickens lay eggs, and we have a breed of chicken that can make more chickens. And then we end up with meat. So the byproduct is we get chicken meat and we get eggs. And then I can sell the eggs. I can compost the eggs. I can feed the eggs to my animals. I can freeze dry the eggs and make that into a resellable product. So it's all of these things together. When we talk about function stacking in a permaculture approach, that's what we mean. One thing does another, does another, does another, does another, and we're creating this cycle of abundance, basically. So that's why I am moving into this model. Now, will I still tractor chickens and process meat birds? I don't know, actually. If I'm able to get enough chickens for me off of this and for everybody else in the holler, and we like the meat, then we may actually stop doing any batches of meat birds in the way that we have, other than if we want to show people how to do that for themselves. And in which case we'll do 10 or 20 at a time, because I max out my chicken processing class, and I don't, so we do maximum 20 people for the chicken processing workshop, which is June 24th. And that's what the tractored birds are for. So if I do another class like that, it's nice to have a predictable schedule for having the meat birds, but we may re-envision how we do that class as a result of this if it works out. And there's a lot of unknowns. And this is the thing about homesteading, right? I've never done this before in this way. I've never done this breed of chickens before, so I don't know how that will go. And if it works out, I will go with it as a future system. If it doesn't work out exactly how I want, I'll adjust the system and then take another go at it. And that's something that I think a lot of people who get into homesteading are so worried about doing it exactly right the first time, they don't start. And if you don't start, you don't learn. If you don't learn, you don't set up a process, and then it really is hard, or it never happens. Will the chicken be split between tractor and coop? No. The chickens that are going here are a different breed than the ones in the tractor. The tractor, once we're done with these meat birds, goes back in the corner and sits there until next time we need the tractor to either be a tractor or a makeshift sheep shelter, which Tactical does not like when we do that, but we've had to do that a few times. So the coop is where the chickens will be, and it keeps them off of everywhere I don't want chickens, while still giving them plenty of room outside to roam and be chickeny like chickens are. Next one comes from Rachel. She asks, did you decide to go with bought rabbit cages or DIY? We have DIY ones, but I think in general we're going with bought cages. This is actually a better question for Tactical, who walked away as he always does whenever you want to ask Tactical a question, because that's how he rolls.
I'm actually standing right here. But right now I have a couple of bought cages that have, really functional doors. And the general idea is, as soon as I'm not working on 50 other construction projects, I'm going to build a very simple 2x4 frame with a single 8-foot sheet of metal roofing on top, and those cages will just hang from that 2x4 frame. And then the only other thing I'll have to do is build a different watering system for them. But I've already got, well, hopefully the light is decent enough that you'll be able to see that. This is dumb, and that's a feeder, and then it's got just a simple latch door. And then I can walk over and show you, because the other cages that we have are homemade, and I can show you the problem with, well, several problems, is this wire right here. Hopefully that's in frame because I can't see, but that broke on one of them, so I had to rewire this thing back in. And then you can see this wire here should be hooking down here, but over time, lifting it up like this, it's bent enough that you've got to go way up to be able to hook that. So it's mostly just because those are old, but I like the other style latch better, because this other dog crate over here,
the dog crate rabbit cage,
is probably older. That's probably older than any of those, but I mean, this still works perfectly fine, as old as this thing is and as rusted as it is. And like, this door was actually bowed, so I just kind of grabbed it with both hands and bent it back into place. Like, that thing was
the high-end homesteading equipment we keep around.
Yeah, well, that's definitely one that I'm glad we kept.
Yeah, we've needed it more than one time. I actually thought it'd be cool for you to discuss your rabbit design with Steve, because when you two put your heads together at Coop, it was pretty cool. Hello, Mrs. Steve.
Yeah, she did a quick wave.
Scheduled.
Yeah, that'll probably be after the workshop. A-Rape here has offered to send you a picture of his rabbit hutch to give you ideas if you want it.
Yes.
Yes, do it.
And I do have a sheet of metal here, to a metal roofing panel, 3x12, I believe it is, extra from when I did the coop here at base camp, left over.
Oh, cool.
So you're welcome to have that.
All the roofing. We need to move the roofing in my yard. Anyway, well, it looks like that's everything for today. Let's go runs around the horn, say what you want. We'll start with you, Tactical.
Oh, I had something and I forgot what it was.
Okay. So he's having memory issues today. Steve, you go.
Yeah, I'm very glad to have that coop, essentially done, and I'm going to do the holler crapper. Going to finish that up tonight.
The holler crapper. Yep.
And yeah, so that's I think it's going to look awesome. Same color scheme and all that, and then we'll be moving our daughter, of course, tomorrow, but Sunday we'll be getting everything ready here to go for the workshop.
Yep. We
Seeing
got to get the basement all set up.
Yep.
It's on my
Exciting.
list. I think it's
Yeah.
raining Sunday too, so it's actually the perfect day to set up the basement over there if it's raining.
Right.
Cool. Okay, Tactical, did you remember?
No,
Okay.
it was something you mentioned earlier in the show. I don't remember what it was now.
Okay. He needs to take better notes, man. That's okay. Guys, thanks for joining the live stream. I'm going to head out straight from here after I get the audio up and go get the event tent in Camden. So I'm doing a quick round trip, and then we'll be back to all the setup, all of the planting, all of the things all at one time. See you soon.